Alright guys, I've got a 87 Yamaha Banshee here for you with an a J-arm to A-arm conversion. It's going to be a relatively simple video. I'm going to show you the kit. It's from Zoom Parts. They made a kit to make it relatively easy to convert this. It's not a bolt-on kit. You're going to have to do some fabrication. But the fabrication should be relatively simple. You will need a welder and some cutting capabilities, but other than that, it's par for the course. So let me show you the kit. Zoom has all these kits made right here in the States. You dig out all these pieces. I have been through this kit before, so I've been waiting for some time to put this on, so I apologize for not having them in the bags and the notorious unboxing aspect, but whatever, we're past that. These are all 1/8" thick plate, laser cut. So I believe it's an A36 cold rolled material, and that's it. That's your kit. Real simple. I'm going to show you how these go on. I've already started working on part of the frame, getting it ready, getting it cleaned up, and I'm going to give you a quick mock-up, show you how these fit, and then I'm going to start tacking them on, making the bends, and doing the cuts and so on. So check this out. Now what I do recommend you get is a new set of A-arm bolts, not J-arm bolts, but the upper A-arm bolts. That way you can utilize them to keep everything in line. Now you can do it different, but my plan of attack was to use this bolt to keep the new mount location completely in line with the old one. That way we don't have any issues. This goes here, and I'm going to put the nut and bolt on. Bear with me. Now this piece goes here, and then this piece fits against it, and then there's two support pieces behind that that will support like a front load or side load impact this way, to keep the whole arm from just bending in. On the factory frames, the newer A-arm generation frames, there's a tube that goes up and bends like that. It's kind of a compound bend. So for simplicity's sake for the kit, we're just using this flat plate. We're going to bend the top of this plate about somewhere over here to get it to match this curvature of the frame. That's going to be one bend, and then I believe this piece fits here. It's too large as it sits, but if you put a small bend in it as well, then it will mate to the back side of this. That's the plan. So let's walk through it. Okay, so what I did is I put this in the vise here. Let me turn the camera up. Just for all of you who want to try to do this, I put this in the vise, but I didn't clamp it right at that black line. I went like a 1/2 inch above it. So I put this whole bracket in upside down. I left that much gap between the teeth of the vise and the line, and then I just tugged on it. I didn't need a wrench or any special tool. I just gave it a little tug, and this put this kind of gradual curve in it. and it was just guesstimation, and it looks like I got it right. So hopefully the next side I'm just as good. If not, I can push it back, or I can give it a little more. It's pretty forgiving. So got that bend right. Now our task is we need to match this overall dimension of the A-arm mount, the upper A-arm mount. I have my other Banshee right over there. We're going to use that because I don't have the A-arms yet. I'm still waiting for the A-arms for this project. I don't have them on hand yet. So I'm going to use my other Banshee to get a dimension here, and we're going to establish this. We're going to tack all this in, lock it in. Then we will get those support pieces put in. That way we know this is nice and straight and everything's hunky-dory. Okay, I think you guys see where I'm going with this. So I got these plates tacked in. Now we got to set this dimension here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take a piece of tubing and I'm going to cut it to the needed additional length of this overall system right here to match the original, or match the A-arm spacing that we need. 8 5/8. It's actually a very tight 8 5/8, if you can look at that number, if it'll focus properly. So a tight 8 5/8, just maybe a smidge under it. And I did exactly that. I made a piece of tube to fit in there, tightened it all down, and we are exactly at the same dimension. 8 5/8. It's a very tight 8 5/8. Now my A-arm here came out really easy. I'm not going to pull up on it because I got one hand, but it was not hard to get out. So that's not, even if it is crimped in a tiny bit here, which it slightly appears to be, the dimension's good for these LSR A-arms. So I'm not too worried about that. Worst case scenario, if it's a little tight, you just get a little generous with a heavy utensil and move them out just a hair. But I think that's good. So for all of you that are thinking about doing this, 8 5/8 is your number, inside to inside. Tacked together from the outside, that's what you're gonna see. I added some of these holes just to give it a little bit of flavor. That way it wasn't just some big flat piece. Now there are these support pieces here that will go on the inside, like this. That way they tie this to the steering section, and also these additional supports come down here as well. That way if there's any torsion on this part, these will pinch right here and essentially make this entire area solid. Same if there's any downward force from that torsion, that's what these pieces are for. I want to weld these plates on in the back before adding these. So what I'm going to actually do is to keep this point from moving in or out from the distortion of the weld, I'm going to keep the bolts in, but I'm going to just tack the outside a little more, and then I'm going to weld the inside. Then I'll reevaluate how the bolt fits. I'll do that on both, and then if it's good, which it should be, I will weld the front, and then this front piece will be locked in. Then I will move on to adding these pieces. Okay, here's the next pieces tacked in. Now you could curve them up like that and then trim this side here. I had to trim these anyway. I had to trim this and do a little bit of sand and grind work here to get this to fit a little different. But it's nice and close. So I have it at this angle. That way, like I said, if there's a torsional load here on the A-arms, it will press against this. And these will pinch together. Now, if they're both getting pinched, you'd think it's going to push the steering, push this down, and that's what these are for. These go here. So these will help keep it harnessed to keep it from going up or down. Now, just like the insides of the big plates, I'm going to weld these on first before I get to these. All right, guys, I bolted everything up so I could check clearances on the steering stem here and the tie rods. So I did have to notch these out ever so slightly right here and a little bit here. And that kind of comes with the expectation of doing this work. This is a first off prototype of this kit, so we're working on it. But I've already communicated some of these little details back to Richard at Zoom Zoom, and he's got an open ear. He's working with me on it. So he said definitely he will make some adjustments to the geometry of some of these parts, and we will, yeah, we'll work through them. And that way, if you guys go with this kind of kit, you'll be better off. But got everything clear there. Both sides, and we're good to go. A little tip on the steering stem, if you guys do this. So I welded everything together with only the nut in, and it was loose for most of it. When I did this welding here, I think this tightened up just a little bit, but I got it out no problem. It still turned, but getting the old bearing in was very difficult. It did not want to go in. So I would recommend to any of you that do this, leave your old bearing in there. You'll obviously want to replace it, but leave it in there. That way, if it tightens up at all, it won't tighten up more than the bearing. So that might have been a little bit of a mistake that I made, was taking the bearing out. So I'd recommend don't do that. Leave the bearing in. Aside from that, yeah, a little bit of cleanup here and there, little adjustment on the geometry, and we're good to go. So I got to weld the inside of these, plate C, and the outside of here. And then we are nearly done after I cut this off. I don't have these A-arms yet, the new A-arms, because we're still waiting on Alba. Alba is taking their sweet time. So in the meantime, I thought, okay, instead of cutting this off, let me bolt up all the old crap just to make sure that I had good clearance with the tie rods and everything. So and we're really far away. Even if this tilts way out here because the A-arms will be a +2 +1, so it'll be 1 inch forward. That's not going to do anything to this point here. So I'm not worried about it, but I wanted to just bolt everything up and double check. So I'll weld all this up, and then we're going to cut this off, and then we're done. This is no longer a J-arm frame. It is an A-arm frame now. Just took apart the J and looks good. I had to put like a 60 grit. I went from a 36 to a 80, I think. And this is pretty smooth. After there's powder on it, you're not going to see anything. I still need to deburr that. But yeah, this thing is finished. There's your J to A conversion right there. Brought to you by Zoom Zoom Parts. Pretty straightforward kit. It will require you to be patient and carefully use your fabrication skills, and I would also recommend, like I did in the beginning, to remove the J-arm rear mount last. Get a set of A-arm bolts and use that to line your dimension up. That way you keep everything in alignment with your A-arm, and then you take that off at the end, and I think you'll be sitting pretty. So I wanted to show all of you the Banshee in its finished form with the new A-arms, but it's taking forever to get the A-arms. I don't have them yet, and the frame is still out at powder coat, and I got a lot going on. So I'm going to conclude this video. I did show you everything bolted up with the J-arms, just to provide evidence that it all bolts up just fine and everything's good. I know you're going to want to see some evidence that it can operate fine for driving and all that good stuff, and I don't blame you. So we'll get to that. So tune in to the Ice Age Banshee build that I'm doing, which is that frame, because the upcoming video will have, or it may already be out by the time I post this. It'll have the initial work, the build up, which you'll see part of the J to A-arm conversion in there. And then you'll see the finished build. It'll be like a 2 or 3 video series. You'll see the finished build with the finished frame and the A-arms and everything on there. And it's going to look really good. So if you want evidence of the final product with the long travel A-arms and all that crap on there, go check out that video. I don't think you'll be disappointed. It's a really cool build project anyway. So that's where you'll be able to see it. So thanks for watching. Any of you interested in trying to do this conversion, I don't think it's very difficult. Just take your time, be patient, and it helps if you have all the parts there. Even at like your old junk pair of J-arms to bolt up, and just kind of walk yourself through the project and the process, and just take your time. So good luck, and let me know in the comments below, somewhere down there, if you think it's a good kit, or you're going to try it, or you want to try to salvage another J-arm frame and turn it into an A-arm or whatever. Or if you just want to hate on this project. So all is welcome, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Thanks for watching.